Well, good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. I want to welcome you guys to another episode of the Free Texas Campaign. We present voices from behind the walls of TDCJ. Y'all know for over the last year and a half or so, I have been sharing individuals, allowing them to share their story, things that are taking place inside TDCJ, how they ended up there. Y'all know we trying to expose the corruption that have plagued the state of Texas over the last 3 to 4 decades. So I need you guys to share this in your circle of influence because you never know what the next person may be in need of, what little nugget may be dropped, because you may have someone in this situation, may not be your situation right now, but who knows? So, without further ado, for those that do not know who I am affectionately known as the Queen of Collaboration. My name is Angela Thomas Smith. I am the visionary of the Crew Podcast, Aspiring Authors Magazine, and I am the CEO of AALAC, which is the African American Author Literacy Awareness Campaign. My desire is just to be the change that I desire to see in this world. So, today we have Mr. Michael Gregory Michael KLAPESKY, and he's going to be sharing whatever it is that is laid on his heart to share today concerning his incarceration, his time there at TDCJ, however he feel led to share today. I'm turning it over to him at this time. If you would introduce yourself, please.
Oh yeah, my name is I go by Mike KLAPESKY, and first of all I'd like to thank Angela and everyone involved in the Free Texas campaign for making it possible for my voice to be heard after all these years. I know my time's limited to this phone call, so I'm going to attempt to tell you as much of my story as possible in that time frame. This is my first time in prison. I'm currently serving a life sentence for the murder of my wife. Although some details may be unique, the facts of the Texas court corruption are not uncommon. I won't mislead anyone. Before coming to prison, I had a drug problem. I was on probation for possession of a controlled substance in 2 different counties. One was for magic mushrooms, and the other was for a usable amount of cocaine. I used drugs and alcohol to escape the reality of a troubled home life. My wife was diagnosed with bipolar manic depressive. She was often very violent. I believe she had multiple personalities related to demonic possession. I don't know how we all feel about that, but that's what I believe. And she could shift from loving to psychotic into suicidal in a matter of seconds. She used to throw canned goods at my head while I sat on the couch watching TV. She even threw a can of beans through the living room window once when I dodged it. I had to pay a glass repairman to replace that window. My wife would come at me with butcher knives for ignoring her if I didn't talk when she wanted me to. I would go to the restroom to get away from her. There were holes in the bathroom door where she stabbed it, trying to get at me. If I waited long enough, she would start crying and turn the knife on herself, and then I would come out of the bathroom and take the knife away from her. She'd pull her long hair and while screaming, "I hate myself." And I just, she was under psychiatric care, and she had been taking antidepressants for years. She had attempted suicide many times. She had crashed her vehicle. She had crashed every vehicle that she owned, driving while she was angry. My wife even ran me over with her Toyota Camry at a friend's apartment complex. His neighbors tried to call the police, but I asked them not to. I told them that she was my wife and she did this all the time. My fear was, since I was on probation for drugs and my infant son was in the car with her, that Child Protective Services would take my son away. And my wife had already borderline totaled that same car with my son in it. She hit a bright yellow school bus driving while she was angry. It cost over $3,000 to fix that car at a discount at my friend's shop. She used to threaten me to take my son to South America where her mom's family lived, and she said they would disappear and I'd never see them again. She used this as leverage against me. She It was her power over me. She knew I would do anything for my son. My wife threatened to kill him and herself more than once as she tried to leave with him in the car. Once she pinned me against the garage door and the car. She pinned me between the garage door and the car as I tried to stop her, and the garage door had to be repaired before it could even be opened. Early in our relationship, my wife had kicked me in the groin, was hitting me with a broomstick when the neighbors called the police, and the Austin police came to her mother's house and warned her that if they had to come back, that she would go to jail. My mother and stepfather later had to physically pull her off of my back as she tried to scratch my eyes out. They had to restrain her while I got in the car to escape. I'm sharing all these details with you because they were not allowed in my trial. I did not receive a fair trial. It was more like a dog and pony show, a railroading. Evidence favorable to the defense was withheld. Numerous witnesses were not allowed to testify. The ones that were allowed were restricted to only facts that would not make my wife look bad. The court said it was because my wife was not on trial. I was. None of her physical history or the evidence that she had just had sex with another man at the time of death were allowed in my trial. However, the corruption of this judicial process started long before trial began. This is not an allegation. It is a fact. I have proof. I have affidavits from potential witnesses and police reports to back up those statements. The saddest fact is that Texas courts don't care. All they wanted was a conviction, no matter how dirty they had to play to get one. Even the arresting officer committed perjury on the stand. The police reports and dash camera video prove it. It would have shown the illegal search and seizure would have severely hindered the prosecution's case. The officer lied to cover his mistakes. These facts have certainly would have certainly changed the outcome of the verdict. For the court not to consider them as a denial of due process, the corrupt court proceedings led to my extreme sentence of life in prison. Please keep in mind that I've never been to prison, nor had I ever been convicted of a violent crime. On September 21st, 2003, I was arrested in Hays County. The arresting officer arrived on private property. I was outside the vehicle, which was locked. He immediately arrested me, handcuffed me, and placed me in the back of his cruiser. He never asked for my identification. He thought my name was Mike Sansoni, which to my knowledge does not exist. He asked if he could search the vehicle, and I said no. It was in my wife's name, which was Sansoni. The sergeant and female officer that soon arrived on the scene, the female officer searched the vehicle at the sergeant's command. No officers knew my name at all. The arresting officer later testified at a suppression hearing that he searched the vehicle for 3 separate reasons, all of which were lies. He didn't even search the vehicle, period. He was standing next to me at the rear of his cruiser the whole time. No one knew my name until I was booked in the Hays County Jail. Hours passed, and I was told that I was arrested for revocation of probation, but I don't know how that's possible because they didn't even know my name. Then I was taken to Williamson County Jail because my residence was in Williamson County. So then my first attorney that I had, he dropped my case when I was indicted 6 months later. I couldn't afford to pay him the $100,000 fee because all my assets were in my wife's name for tax purposes. The house and cars were paid for, but I could not access any funds. So my second attorney was appointed, and he was threatened by the district attorney's office with economic sanctions. In addition, they would not allow him any plea bargains on any of his other 5 felony cases in Williamson County unless he dropped my case. My lawyer refused to drop the case. I signed an affidavit waiving the conflict of interest as my lawyer had previously represented Williamson County in 2 lawsuits. The suits concerned were medical malpractice and a higher wages suit for the Sheriff's Department employees. Since those suits were not a conflict of interest in my case, the DA DA created a new conflict when he threatened my attorney. This is why my attorney was eventually removed from my case against my will. The same dirty district attorney then pushed to have a new attorney with no experience appointed to my case. My second attorney continued to fight, stating that my case was a serious one. This required adequate representation with more experience. What I didn't mention was that my second attorney had previously been a prosecutor for Williamson County for over a decade. He knew all their dirty tricks. The DA's office didn't want him on my case for that reason. He would not be intimidated and could surely have beaten the case. A third attorney was appointed eventually. She was later intimidated. She dropped my case for what she told the court was personal reasons, but not before convincing me to sign another waiver, an affidavit, to accept the appointment of my fourth attorney. They both sold me a convincing story that if I didn't sign that waiver, Williamson County would appoint the absolute worst attorney with no experience, and in their words, they would hang my ass. The man later became the worst attorney I could imagine. He had a co-counsel appointed. She was fresh out of law school with no trial experience. The two of them convinced me that I couldn't possibly testify for the defense because my drug-related past. They set me up. They led me like a lamb to the slaughter. They refused to investigate the facts of my case, refused to contact witnesses I instructed were crucial to my defense. They pocketed the state-allocated funds for a private investigator. When I asked why they didn't contact the witnesses, the attorney said they didn't answer the phone, so they must not want to talk. I asked why the private investigator didn't go to the addresses. My attorney said, your co-counsel is acting as a private investigator because all the investigator does is question the witnesses. I asked why she didn't go question them then. My attorney replied, Mike, that's a bad neighborhood. She can't go over there. This is when I said, that is exactly why you should have hired the private investigator the court gave you the money for. No investigator was ever hired. The judge slept through most of my trial. He had to be woken up repeatedly to make a ruling. How could he possibly rule on something that he was asleep during? My attorneys refused to ask state's witnesses questions I instructed them to ask. They refused to impeach the state's witnesses, refused to object, and refused to call several witnesses for the defense. Two of those witnesses were available on location waiting to testify. One of those witnesses was my wife's ex-stepmother. She was afraid of my wife. Her children were afraid of my wife. She thought my wife was trying to poison her. That is one reason she divorced my wife's father. One of the state's witnesses was someone I had once dated. She later became a drug dealing prostitute. She had stolen $1,300 from me for drugs, and I threatened to come get my money, so she lied in court to help me get a life sentence. Conveniently, then she never had to pay my money back. So, as I explained before, I had a drug problem. I had been awake for 3 days on meth when my wife seduced me. She forgot she had a tampon inside her, holding another man's sperm. She was high and drunk and had lied to me on so many times and so many occasions that I was so furious and sleep deprived that I just snapped. It was temporary insanity or sudden passion. It is also true that I had been in Mexico and my son had refused to bring my wife had refused to bring my son down there, but and I was afraid to leave him with her alone any longer. I had to come home because she said that I would never see him again if I didn't. She had too many psychological problems, and it was dangerous to leave my son with her alone too long. Even her father's ex-wife wanted to testify to that fact. All of this should have been allowed in my trial. If it had been, business would have been much shorter. I was initially offered 50 years, then 40 years, and then finally 30 years as a plea agreement. I didn't take any of the agreements because I knew that I have more than enough evidence to show that this was a case of sudden passion, which is punishable by a maximum of 20 years in prison in Texas. Today, I've served over 20 years in prison, and I can honestly say that every day over the last 20 years, I've felt terrible about the night that I lost control. I've cried a lake of tears. My wife was a very beautiful woman, and I loved her very much. I had reached a breaking point. I wish I would have just taken my son and left long before that night. I've laid in bed at night for decades now, wishing that I could do anything to change what happened. I have been alcohol and drug free for over 20 years now. God took that desire and even the desire to smoke cigarettes from me all those years ago. Prison effectively saved my life, but I don't believe that I should be thrown away in prison like garbage for the rest of my life either. I would never make the same mistakes again, given the chance. Drugs and alcohol ruined my life and so many others. I pray for the chance to go home someday, to help my family that need me there, to counsel others from broken homes like mine was, to help others with drug and alcohol problems. That is never the solution for our problems. Who can reach troubled youth better than someone who has themselves overcome a troubled youth? Others growing up as I did deserve to be helped by somebody like me. I can reach them because I once was one of them. God changed my life. He can change theirs too. I accept full responsibility for my actions and I cry out for mercy. If anyone can help me get another chance to become a productive member of society, to be a good son, father, and grandson before it's too late, please do. I thank you for your time and consideration, and God bless you all, you and all your families, and please don't ever forget, they need your love every day. That is what we were made for. And I don't know if it's okay, but if anyone would like to contact me, they can by sending an e-message by going to securistech.net. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'll be glad to answer them.
Wow. Well, this is a lot, and my heart goes out to you. I pray that somebody will hear this and truly hear this and understand that this is happening every day within the state of Texas, and this has been going on for decades. We talk about the corruption. We talk about the appointed public offenders that are paid. That pay for play, pay for hire, pay for play. That scandal that has been rocking Texas for over 3 to 4 decades now, and it's like they're turning the blind eye to it. Well, I heard the other day Dr. Candace was on one of these social media sites, and she was uncovering a lot of information concerning a Congress Whitmire that has been doing underhanded stuff for decades, and she have documentation. And I'm telling you, everything that people do in the dark, you have to understand that it always comes to the light. So I hate that these thousands of people, because Michael, there's thousands of people that story is similar to yours. Okay, yeah, we may have done the crime. We may have done the crime, but we should not have been sentenced like we've been sentenced, because if you look at all the evidence, you look at all the facts, and the facts are clearly there. If you look at it, you see what the pattern has been like. And it's been an ongoing pattern within a lot of cases similar just like yours, with these appointed lawyers, public offenders, which works for the judges, and the pay to play scandal. These people getting cutbacks, they getting kickbacks, they getting whatever they can under the table, because It's all about corruption. It's all about greed, and it's all about power. These people go on to become assistant district attorneys, then they become district attorneys, and then they get on the court of appeal. And then guess what? These people that's incarcerated are now locked out of the judicial system. They're locked out. They don't get an opportunity to go before the parole board. If they do go up before the parole board, they keep denying them. They keep giving them offsets. They keep doing this. They keep doing that. They keep blacking out the number so you can't see exactly what it is. They have no rehabilitation in process. Now, this is a pattern, and it's destroying lives. It's destroying homes. And we talk about generation after generation after generation. If it keeps happening, if you break up one home, then the next home is broken. That's it. It's over. It is broken, and it's going to keep being broken because it's going to keep going down because you're missing a link in your family. You can't take away people's lives like that and then think it's okay. And you're out here still living your life to the fullest. Y'all, we're exposing these people in the state of Texas. We're calling on these elected officials that have the power, that have the authority, starting with the governor, Greg Abbott. We talking about Ron Reynolds. We talking about Carlos Sherman, Monica De La Cruz, Jeff Leach, all y'all. Y'all sit in these offices. Y'all sit behind these closed doors. Y'all say all this stuff to get in office and say what you're going to do for the people, but then you forget about the people. You forget about the things that you can do. Like y'all have laws in place, but y'all don't even uphold the laws that are in place. If y'all uphold the laws that are in place, a lot of these people would not be in the situations that they're in. You look at other states compared to the state of Texas and how people are given sentences. A lot of the stuff that these people are given life sentences, 75 years, 60 years, 50 years. In other states, they would have been put on probation and still allowed to go to work. They would have been given time served. They would have been given an opportunity to get back out here in society. Because guess what? A lot of these kids were kids when they offended. A lot of these kids was under 20. A lot of them 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 years old when they offended. If they under 25, they not comprehended. No way. It's been proven. We talk about statistics that have shown that until 25, they're not fully at a capacity where they truly understand and grasp the rationality of what they are doing. Because guess what? A lot of them don't even know who they are because they lack identity. They lack that sense of loaning, that sense of being a part of whatever it is. And y'all, we got to understand that these people still, they deserve a second chance. How do we give them a second chance? We get them in these programs. We allow them to identify who they are. We get them off the drugs. We get them the necessary things that they need to get back into the world. We're out here in the world. So you got to build up a parole board that is looking to make sure that these people have the necessary things to get back in the world, because that's the job of a parole board. A parole board is not to keep people in prison. It's to help people transition. So guess what? You might need to have you some social workers, some psychologists, some doctors that can give some physical advice. You might want to have a spiritual person on there. You might want to have somebody that can give business techniques, somebody that can give information about education. I mean, you want every aspect that will help this person to be whole, because guess what? Texas don't believe in rehabilitation. So we got to reform the whole judicial system. But they don't want that, because then they say you can't change the whole judicial system. So now we just got to make sure these people are accountable for what they're supposed to do. It's a lot, Michael. But
Yes, ma'am.
Your story, I mean, your journey, that had to have been horrible. And for them to not allow anybody to come and speak on your behalf, and all the documentation, like you had to have police records. Like they had to have these police records because every 911 call that was made, they got record of it.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's sad that they withheld all of this evidence. And they've been doing this for years, decades,
That's what they do.
decades.
That's what they do in Texas.
And we can't have this.
Yes, ma'am.
It's time for change. And I'm telling you, it's time to get them, every last one of those elected officials up out of office because they're not doing their job. It's time for a fresh wave of new people that's gonna do what they're supposed to do. They can look at all this wrong and correct it. They can make right all these wrongs because there are a lot of people. Some of these people have lost their lives in prison because you talk about the suicide, you talk about the homicides that take place, you talk about the overdoses and all kind of stuff that has been taking place in the state of Texas within the TDCJ, and they have been hiding this stuff and not even showing it to the public, not even the deaths that took place during the heat of the summer, because these people don't want to provide air conditioning, they don't want to provide cooling, and then it's sad. It's sad. But Michael,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm definitely going to be sharing this. I want you to put a plea out to the people that is listening on today. How can they really truly support you and help you?
Well, I like so many others. We need accountability in the judicial system, and the only way that's going to happen is if the people that have the power to bring the public's attention to what's going on, that they do so. That's the only way. I should have gotten a fair trial. I should have gotten a new trial. I should have gotten at least an evidentiary hearing years and years ago, and because I didn't have the money for the attorney in the beginning, I ended up in this situation. And then when I was convicted, and all the corrupt things that happened to lead to the conviction, I didn't have the money to pay for an attorney to do the appeal. I was appointed another, court-appointed attorney for the appeal, which was a joke. And then everything else that I've filed has been pro se. It's been without an attorney, without any legal training, without, I didn't go to law school, so I didn't know what to file or how to file it. I mean, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have had a chance in court. But like I said before, I just listened to the attorneys. They told me not to say anything, and that was my worst mistake, But that's the thing, is that if people like me don't have their cases looked at, because the Texas courts always go along. They always go along with the trial court's rulings, and they go along with the district attorney. So if there's not really a spotlight shined on the corruption, then nothing will ever be done to change it. And I know our time's up, but I just appreciate the platform
Well, we definitely invite you back. We invite you back. Know that this is what we do over here. We're exposing corruption in every light. So please, if you know anyone else that want to share, invite them to come on and share. It's time to bring those things that have been hidden in the dark to the light. It's time to expose these people, and it's time for them to be accountable. Like I say, if they can't do what they've been elected to do, it's time to get them out of office. Every last one of them. They're not going to do what they're supposed to do. It's time for them to get up out of there. And it's time to put people in office that's going to do what they're supposed to do. We said it throughout the entire show. And if y'all have been tuned in, listening to this, if you hear the replay, if you're listening now, you missed the beginning of the show, I'm telling you, he has a powerful store, because you talk about mental illness, you talk about records, you talk about a paper trail, but they withheld all of this. They railroaded this young man. They railroaded him. Prime example of what we've been talking about all throughout this platform, and how they just got this pay for play, this pay for hire, this under the table crap where they paying each other and taking people money. This man said it plain clear as day. They took the money, the lawyers took the money that was supposed to have been paid for a private investigator, and they said the second chair lawyer was going to be investigating, going to be talking to him. How's she going to investigate and she's scared to go in the area talking about it's a bad area? Come on now. How y'all playing with people's lives like that? But his is not the only life that they've done that to. Y'all, many of people they've done that to. It's time to stop it. It's time to put an end to it. It's time to stand up. If you live in the state of Texas, there's no reason why you should be quiet. And all of this is happening right there in your face. It's happening in plain sight. Why? Because they think they got the power to do that. Y'all, it's time to shut them up. It's time to silence them. It's time to put them in their place. It's time to hold them accountable. We can't keep letting anything go and letting anything be okay. Y'all, it's time out for that. It's time out for that. It's a new season. It's a new season. And you got to be the change that you want to see in this world. Can't keep accepting anything and falling for everything, y'all. Come on. We'll accept anything and everything. No. That's what they want us to do because that's what they taught us to do. Nah. We got our own mind now. We don't been able to relearn some stuff and come from under that brainwashing. A lot more people need to come from under the brainwashing and get an understanding of who they are and what they're capable of and the power that they possess on the inside of them. You got a second chance. He extended his grace and his mercy, y'all. I'm telling you. But y'all, if you get a chance, go back, hear the beginning. I'm going to be sharing some clips, powerful testimony. Y'all, I'm at all. And God keep revealing stuff every day. He keeps showing different cases. These are different people, none of the same people, y'all, and they're not in the same location. They're from all over the state of Texas in different prisons. You're going to hear from some women. Y'all, I'm telling you, God is moving. He's bringing those things to the light that's been hid in the dark for way too long. There's a scripture over there, and I'm going to find it. It's in Luke somewhere. Everything that they do in secret, he will leave no rock unturned. No rock unturned. Everything that they've done, everything that they thought they got away with, they ain't get away with it. It's going to be revealed. It's going to be revealed in due time, in God's timing. And y'all seeing it happen every day. Every day. He's showing up. And if we just keep moving out of the way, he's going to keep showing out. Watch him. Watch him, y'all. Y'all, we got another interview in just a little while. I'm waiting for them to call in. But we got another interview in just a little while. So let me jump on off. I thank y'all for chiming in. Please jump back on. If y'all got questions, post them in the comment section, and we'll get them answered. I have another one. His name is Joe Guerrero. He will be on in about 13 minutes, y'all. So y'all jump back on here on the Crew Podcast Facebook page or Free Texas Campaign. And we are live on AALAC YouTube. That's where we stream live at for these every Monday. So y'all make sure y'all are marking. And if y'all follow, y'all will be notified when we go live. That's the best way to stay connected. Follow. If you want to stay connected to the person that you're following for real, follow them. Like and follow their pages. And when they go live, you will be notified, y'all. For real, for real. Okay? See y'all in a little while.